All right, here's another story to share with everybody. It's a little bit of on the longer side, but I kind of like this story in a way. It's a real eye opener, and it's amazing to me how this guy caught the thing off guard so clearly. And it's just another interesting story. So here we go, you guys. You ready? I want to thank you for your videos on YouTube. I enjoy the content that is genuine. I want to share a story with you that I've only shared with my parents, and I was embarrassed to do that. I've grown up spending most of my time outside and much of it alone. I stayed in the wilderness all seasons in scouting and loved high adventure outdoor experiences. I have seen so many animals in the outdoors, as have many folks who place themselves in remote wilderness situations. I graduated high school in 1995. It was my last summer with my good buddies before we all went different directions in life. Two of us had been jogging a nearby mountain, Tiger Mountain, once a week for months just for kicks. We enjoyed allowing small birds to eat from our hands at the summit and the ability to see downtown Seattle on a clear day. It was September when we decided to go for a night hike to the summit on a whim. There were 5 of us, and we had some beers, and we're going to make the night of it and have a little bash together on the summit. Our group had 2 Ians. One was about to become an FBI agent, the other a pro hockey player. My friend Chris was there. He was to become a bigwig at a California-based tech giant, and our buddy Chet. Chet was a big-bodied, long-haired rocker that was notorious for smoking tons and wearing fleece-lined flannel shirts. After all, it was a grunge era. Chet tended to smoke kneeling down, but still on his feet. It was unusual, but he always rested that way. Chet's story is important later. Back in 1995, the trail was crude, and we usually used a washout to ascend straight up the mountain rather than bother with the switchbacks. The washout began about 3/4 of a mile from the street. There was no parking lot then. Just before the turnoff at the washout was a side trail that went to some caves and large monolithic rocks. As we approached the side trail, we were all loud and talking as 17, 18-year-olds do, making tons of noise. The night was clear, the moon bright, and the wind had become severe. We could hear trees falling at times, and branches were falling constantly. We jested with each other after trying to poke at each other's machoism and carried on. I had stopped to relieve myself at a tree, and the group carried on. I listened as the voices mixed with the violent gusts of the forest. I began to feel like I was being hunted and felt very vulnerable while I finished peeing. I remembered the news reports of a cougar on the trail a week ago and became a little more nervous. I tried to remain calm as I made my way up the trail swiftly, but very careful not to run or act like I was afraid or vulnerable, but swift. I could hear the Ians laughing further up the mountain, but as I came around the corner, I was so happy to see Chet was kneeling down on the trail looking up the mountain. I could see his long brown hair and that big flannel, and it's all I needed to see because my sixth sense was telling me to run, and it was so comforting to see him there. I put my head back down and chugged up to within 6 or 7 feet and said, "Oh, Chet, glad to see you." But it wasn't Chet. At 6'6" or so and very muscular, bipedal man stood up looking right at me. It quickly turned away from me and jumped straight off the trail and ran through the alder trees, breaking every one of them at about 4 feet. I was still confused and stood on the edge of the trail and yelled, "Chet!" Realizing that I had startled him and he fell off the cliff. Rationalizing that I had startled him and he fell off the cliff, but Chet came running from above me on the mountain thinking I had fallen because of the noise of everything breaking. That is when I became terrified. They tried to say it must have been a bear. It wasn't. It stood up, looked at me, then turned and ran on 2. It had long brown hair that was longer near its elbows. Its muscles rippled on its arm. It had a face like a man but with dark skin, eyes of a man. What had I seen? The most athletic, homeless man in America? The more I tried to tell my own friends, the more they didn't believe me. They knew I was petrified. I wanted to run out of the woods, but I was too scared to be alone, so I stayed all the way to the summit. I was shaking, scared, and wouldn't let it go, but they all made jokes. I have never been scared of the woods, but I was then. That was one of the last times I spoke with these guys. They didn't believe me, and they were right there, 100 yards away. Nobody else is going to. Years later, at 40, I told my dad about it after he had found some footprints on the Souk River and thought he was nuts to wonder about large barefoot prints in the riverbed in November. I felt embarrassed to tell him, even at 40, even though he didn't believe me. I have kids now. They are scouts, and I am scared for them because I don't know how to balance the beautiful experience of being in the wilderness with the fact that I cannot and will not harm one of these things because they are like men. I think they can easily harm me even if I am armed. if what I saw was a juvenile, the size of an NFL linebacker, but twice as fast and 3 times as strong. Well, thanks for reading my therapeutic story. I hope you believe me. But even if you don't, you should at least consider what I've told you. I was not in the most remote area by any stretch of imagination. I was in the most risky situation. But I was and am still terrified. I cannot explain the fear enough. Unusually frightened. Forever frightened. Thank you. And there is another one. That's a pretty good description of that thing. Seeing that long, brown, flowing hair. Take note it wasn't fur. And the face of a man. Another common story, but it's kind of actually, I don't know if it's cool, the word cool, but it's pretty bizarre that he actually slipped right up on that thing from behind it and caught him off guard like that. But I guess possibly considered conditions, the wind screaming, branches breaking everywhere, and enough of those guys all fanned out and spread out, probably added to that thing blowing its cover by accident and getting crapped up on. But I'm sure you're listening to this video, man, and don't be scared and don't be worried any longer, because you're not alone. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't believe you. I got tons of people in my world that they probably think I'm absolutely crazy and double crazy for even talking about this on YouTube nonstop, but it is what it is. You can't change it, and I know you know what I'm talking about. Once you have one or more of these experiences that you didn't ask for, you cannot change it. You're never going to change it, and it's never going to leave you, ever, and everything's going to change. It's just the way it is. And, yeah. What do you do? What do you say? You just keep moving forward. But obviously talking matter of fact and being straight up honest and just sticking up for people, it's obviously attractive. It's working. People are listening, and I think you might have noticed by now. I don't have an urge for anyone out there to jump in I don't even have a camp. You can't jump in my camp and believe what these things are or aren't sure arguing about it, because I don't even give anybody that option. I don't care. It doesn't matter. What we're after right now is accepting the facts, maybe possibly pointing them out later on, and moving forward and getting the respect this topic deserves back, and keeping all cheesy aspects completely gone. Just get rid of them. No infighting. No feeling the need to have my name or your name recognized with discovering these things, because let's face it, they don't need to be discovered. These beings were known of long before the Europeans came to this continent, and long before the Europeans came to, say, Australia, the Australian continent, Russia, China. These things have been around since time began. Picture this one. Could you imagine if you were, say, on the first shipload of Europeans that hit the shores in Australia, okay? And you met the indigenous people to that land, and they all sat down, gave you a few meals, and they started to tell you about kangaroos, duck-billed platypuses, okay? 20-foot crocodiles. Now, what one person on that European boat is going to look at all those people on their land who have been there since time began and tell them flat out, no, you're crazy, you're wrong, there's no crocodiles, there's no kangaroo thingies. What a bunch of folklore. Yeah, no, you listen to the people who've lived there, okay? You listen to them. Anyway, there's another story. There's more coming. Shy in time. I'm getting caught up slowly. And it's kind of funny. Sarah and I were checking out voiceover contractors online last night. We're going to get some voiceover actors to make some audio openers for the videos that are kind of comical in a way, and just make it a little more fun and make everybody laugh to start off with, and relax. Everybody should just relax and laugh out there and take in this free information and use it for the benefit of themselves and others. That's what it's for. If you misread the title of the video and you're still here to ride it out to the end, to hit the dislike button and blow a gasket on me or somebody in the comment section, there's something severely wrong with you.